If you look out the window behind me, given you're watching the video podcast, because so why wouldn't you? Even if not, if you're in Bangkok, look out the window. If you're in any other big city, look out the window. And what you might see, what you definitely see in Bangkok, but what you might see in other cities too, is it's not a cohesive city. You see a collision, and here in Bangkok, that collision is very dominant. A collision of different styles and different dimensions, and you have like this here in Bangkok, right? This ancient, this like incense-stained Buddhist temple kind of flare sitting right next to a hyper modern skyscraper, the next mega mall, and right next to that, like another sky high glass office building which casts a shadow over the temple, and next to it is a slum with like all those tin roofs and so on, right? Crazy, crazy view. If you just take some time and actually look at it, it's crazy. So, well, welcome to today's episode to the Funky Pod, which might be a little bit different to other episodes because today I'm going to try to take a slightly different viewpoint on things and a different topic. The last few weeks we talked about Trump, 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 and so on, and why he's doing what he's doing, and all the things. Today I want to take you somewhere where you might have not been just yet. I want to take you to where I am, where I'm sending this podcast from. I want to take you to Bangkok, and I want to talk about how Bangkok is actually the perfect example of all the media theories I try to teach you here and discuss with you here on the podcast for the last 1 or 2 years. And yeah, why do I think that Bangkok is so fitting? Because I think Bangkok is the front line for, I don't know even how to call it, like hyper capitalism. Yes, it's not a digital nomad kind of podcast. It's not like, hey, come to Bangkok. That it's definitely not. Because I'm gonna talk about the future of architecture, but not in a building kind of sense. I'm gonna talk about the future of architecture of reality. Okay, how Bangkok is a microcosm of showing you what reality can look like, might look like. We're gonna talk about like what's gonna happen in the future. What's gonna happen when you take the past and modify it. Because here in Bangkok, like everything exists at the same time. The past, the present, kind of, the future even more so. And here they are stacked on top of each other. And that's something that I think is very unique to the city that I call home and the city that hosts this podcast. So, Saudi Cup and welcome to another episode for the Funky Pod Mindful Media and Communication Bangkok edition. And how does now talking about a city fit to like a mindful media and communications podcast? Well, I'm glad you asked because let me communicate with you for a second. Bangkok, right? For those who haven't been here or for me that don't live here, what you can see, we have like this typical picture of like a sky train running through the narrow cityscape, right? High-rise buildings left and right, shopping malls everywhere, and yeah, you're gliding in this air-conditioned, frictionless tube through that narrow cityscape. Yeah, streets below you all tangled up, lots of traffic jams, lots of honking going on. Power lines, the very typical Bangkok picture, right? Lots of power lines hanging in the air because we still haven't managed to put them underground. Street food carts everywhere, and traffic just not moving. That's the Bangkok picture that everybody's seen before at some point, right? Well, that is also communication or part of communication. There's actually a theory, because I try to talk about theories with you, a theory that talks about urbanism. It's actually called splintering urbanism. And there's also another theory that fits very well in here. It's called the non-place. In previous episodes, we talked about the non-spectacle when we talked about postmodernism and so on. Today, we talk about the non-place. And that I try to explain, right? Because the city itself, Bangkok, has splintered, the splinter urbanism, splintered into like different realities, occupying the same place, Bangkok, at the exact same time. So you go Yeah, you have your GPS is like one place, of course, the coordinate, but this one place is occupied by, well, different realities. There's the luxury condo, there's the BTS SkyTrain, and the mega mall. And we have so many of those mega malls. And those are all non-places. They're they're frictionless. We call it in common studies, globalized nodes. Okay. So it's something you go to, sure, and yes, it exists, but it's not real. It's not like your home. And your home looks vastly different to what you experience in those mega malls with all the fancy luxury shops in there. Okay. It's who do the malls belong to? They belong to like exactly, right? You don't even know. They belong to like a global cloud of capital, like investors here, investors there. Who even knows who like Central Worlds really belongs to, right? The people living on the 40th floor have more in common with someone in Dubai or New York than with someone living down there on the road. And yeah, people dining in those fancy restaurants have more in common again with people dining in fancy restaurants in New York, Dubai, London, Paris, Berlin, and so on, than with the person eating at the street food vendor. And you're paying, I don't know, 4,000 baht for your fancy dinner there. Down there, you pay 60 baht for a pad kapao. So the infrastructure, right, literally bypasses local reality. Yeah, sometimes here in Bangkok we call it the Sukhumvit bubble. Like Sukhumvit is the main road where all the expat life and all the business life happens, or lots of it happens. And so it's like, how you're in your expat in the Sukhumvit bubble, you don't even know the real Bangkok, the real Thailand. And this leads me to something else. Because those two worlds, right, at the same place, they have to interact somehow, right? How do they interact? Well, here's the thing. They do not interact. They don't. That's the sad part, because one of those two realities just consumes the other as an aesthetic. Yeah, you see it, but you're not interacting with it. And here we bring in our friend, my friend and yours, Jean Baudrillard, hyperreality, simulacrum, simulation theory, right? We all talked about it many a times. Fits very well here again. To picture this, right? The elite, and I hate the term, that elite looking down from their infinity pool in the 67th floor to the slum down there and the temple next to it, that it ceases to be real. It's not nothing real that you actually understand. Yeah, you see those breathing communities, those struggling communities, but you're up there in your infinity pool. It's not real to you. They just become scenery. It's like it's like you have your while you're up there, you have your own cyberpunk punk aesthetic right there. We all love cyberpunk, and now you have it real there as a backdrop for your own life. Okay? It's cool for your IG story, but do you really know what's happening there? What people are going through there? Exactly. Yeah, the temples are backdrop, the gritty streets are backdrop. Everything becomes just a commodity for your urge to have something authentic to use as a backdrop. Yeah, while everybody else is enjoying, those authentic posts, but you're completely isolated from the actual struggle that go on with those people living the authentic lives. Yeah, you see the authentic life there, but you don't struggle with the hardships. So we kind of turned economic desperation into like a visual filter. Like, give me the authentic, gritty Bangkok filter. Oh, there's a nice backdrop. There's a slum here. There's a temple there, and so on. Right? And well, because today is different than usual on the podcast, I'm not only gonna hate, I also gonna bring you solutions. And there are a few small situations, places where those two splintered realities where they actually meet. where the globalized cloud, how I call it earlier, right, crashes back into the physical street. Not many a times, but once in a while, here and there's a possibility that they overlap. And one of those places is my favorite place to go, my safe space. It's a very local Muay Thai gym. And I think those local gyms, Muay Thai as an example, other places as well, local markets and so on, are so vital to that communication because they provide a space where different realities merge, converge, if you will, even, and communicate. And I stick with the Muay Thai gym now, but take the local market, take anything that's very similar to that, because it's one of the few places in a city where this simulation of what's real and authentic breaks down. You have foreigners who step out of the luxury condo going into like that gritty, sometimes a bit dirty Muay Thai gym. You have Thai fighters who grow up in those exact like corrugated tin neighborhoods, and they step into the exact same canvas that that foreigner has never had any real struggles steps into, and they meet on the mats in the ring, and that's awesome. Yeah, in the ring, once you're there, the sky train doesn't matter, right? Your crypto portfolio, your gold portfolio right now at the time of recording doesn't matter. Your aesthetics. I know you're still gonna take IG pictures, but while you're training, doesn't matter. You are subjected to the, I know, absolute undeniable laws of physics and human biology. And that's what Muay Thai brings out. And it's not a fighting podcast, so don't worry, but I'm just giving you examples like where those realities meet and how they communicate. And I think the ring, as my metaphor, is just a great equalizer here. Okay, it's an anchor of absolute brutal truth. There's nothing to hide. You can't hide behind your fancy condo. You can hide behind your, which I said, portfolios and so on. Yeah, so in a city that's trying to float away into that digital cloud, because the city wants to be Dubai, it wants to be like New York, right? The Muay Thai ring pulls it back down. But it's like, hey, don't forget where you're from. And that's what I like so much about that. Okay? Because we're all living in those splintered realities by now. There's nothing completely real anymore, right? In my book that's coming up, I call it, it's a beta reality. Okay? Nothing's completely real because everything that we think we know is what we consume from the media. That's all tailored, personalized, AI curated, you name it, and we take it as real even if it's not real. Right? If you post something with like the aesthetic from like the ruggedness, I think you're actually there and you know what it's about, but you don't. Right? So nothing's really really the truth, except what happens on the mats. That's the truth. And that's the beauty of it. Okay, so we're living this splintered realities. Yeah, no matter what city you're in, there are always those splintered realities. And we're all trying to kind of insulate ourselves in frictional or frictionless, I should say, non-places. Because it's nice, it's easy, it's convenient. So your job today, after listening to this podcast, while listening to this podcast, is step out of the SkyTrain, step out of that air conditioned. Look at me how I'm sweating right now. Step out of that air conditioned tube that like takes you away from all the struggles. Yeah, interact with the physical gravity of your city, wherever you're in. Yeah, talk to someone outside of your bubble. Yeah, someone outside of your economic algorithm, so to speak. Yeah, sweat. I'm doing this right now. Bleed a little bit, as blood, sweat, and tears, and just touch reality a little bit. It was a very meta kind of podcast walk through Bangkok, but I think cannot always talk about what's happening over there in the States. Also have to talk about real life sometimes, and that's real life. That's Bangkok, and I'm really curious to hear how does it feel in your city? What are your realities that you're facing, and how do you make sure that you're not getting caught up in like one splintered reality, but you also actually keep touching or hold on and of reality. Let me know, shout out in the comments, it would be cool, or send a message via FunkitPod on all the socials. Until then, stay safe, take care, keep your guards up. Not too high though, because you want to talk to people outside of your bubble. And I'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye.